Presented by First Amendment freepress.org. Bill H. 3014 to amend the South Carolina Code of Laws by enacting the Clementa C. Pinckney Hate Crimes Act. The only way to describe this bill is that it is an absurd grandstanding tactic by politicians in an election year to show that they are tough on crime and hate. They will be meting out punishments and charges based on what someone says, thinks, or believes. That someone could be a judge, jury, police officer, neighbor, or bystander. We are now going to have different levels of crimes and varied punishments according to these standards. Standards of which cannot be measured or quantified. Follow this example along. A black man murders his white ex-wife and boyfriend. Is it a racially motivated hate crime? If so, his sentence should be more severe. He hated the boyfriend, by definition a hate crime. So again, his penalty should be increased. He loved his ex-wife, so this was a love crime, and his penalty should be reduced. He was a good citizen and drove carefully all over town. Bonus for that, and his penalty should be further reduced. He was rich, famous, and handsome and could afford the best defense. How do you know what was in his mind before, during, and after the crime? That's what these politicians want the legal system to do. It's impossible and it's unconstitutional. Maybe they should read the state and United States Constitution, particularly what is known as the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. It could very well be construed as prior restraint, which typically happens in a few ways. It may be a statute or regulation that requires a speaker to acquire a permit or license before speaking. Prior restraint can also be a judicial injunction that prohibits certain speech. There is a third way in which the government outright prohibits a certain type of speech. Courts typically disfavor prior restraint and often find it to be unconstitutional. Quote from Legal Information Institute, Cornell Law School. Review of this bill also notes that it will lead to longer and more costly trials, may result in longer sentences with that additional cost, with both passed along in the end to you, the taxpayer. It will also lead to bigger fines and penalties levied on a perpetrator. Section 16.32410. A. When a person commits a violent crime as defined in Section 16-160, or commits assault by mob in the second degree as defined in Section 16.3.210C, and the trier of fact determines beyond a reasonable doubt that the offense was committed against a victim who was intentionally selected, in whole or in part, because of the person's belief or perception regarding the victim's race, color, religion, sex, gender, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical or mental disability. Whether or not the perception is correct, the person is subject to additional penalties as provided in subsection B, penalty enhancements for certain crimes. I guess it's time to find and appoint a King Solomon, or maybe it's just time to judge the crime itself. Presented by First Amendment freepress.org.